Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Aeris December quarterly activities presentation. These are just the disclaimers, but I would like to jump into the highlights for FY2023. For this quarter, the group copper equivalent production was 13.1 thousand tonnes, slightly lower than the previous quarter, but we have seen good improvements at both Tritton and Krakow, and that has been offset by lower production from Jag and Mount Colin. But on a year-to-date basis, Jaguar is still way in front of the internal forecasts. We'll talk a little bit more detail on each one of those, and we are very proud to say all the mines have been within their costs as an internal plan, at least on the operating cost side. So a lot of focus has gone into cost control, and we are seeing some of those results as we move forward. We kept spending money on capital. We've invested another nearly $37 million on capital projects, including exploration, and that's all. And we'll talk about mainly at Tritton, where we are really focusing on developing Avoca Tank and getting Budgie going to production. The resource upgrades, we have some really good success at most of the operations. At Krakow, Golden Plateau seems to be getting bigger and better. The Turbo deposit at Jaguar, the more holes we drill, the more promising it looks. And then we got some very good high-grade copper intersections from drilling at Avoca Tank, which is now showing that ore body is what we expected, but also potential to extend significantly further. And then, as we talked before, the Kurrajong deposit, we've done some more drilling, got some really good results, and that would be one of the future projects we will embark on in the life of the business. On the cash and receivables, we closed the quarter with $76 million, a $22 million increase on the previous quarter. We still got no debt. We talked about our focus on projects, and specifically the Stockman project and bringing that in production. And we've employed Charles Rousseau as a general manager of projects who would oversee the Stockman project development, and he's a builder, he's a construction guy, but also be involved with the other major projects in the business. And as we've stated in the quarterly, although we got a few big months ahead of us on production-wise, we still maintain our production guidance for all operations. On the ESG side, a good safety performance by the operations in the last quarter or last 4 months, lost time injuries. A lot of focus is going into the consolidated group after the acquisition of Round Oak to standardize systems and processes, standardize definitions, and we've seen some of that success. On the sustainability side, we are planning to put another sustainability report out this year. A lot of work is going into data and baseline setting, but there's a lot of internal discussions on the sustainability strategy going forward and set ourselves some targets as we move forward in the business. As we discussed before, we have decided on those 4 focus areas, and that's where the main focus will be on the sustainability side of the business. We had no environmental incidents for the quarter, so nothing to report on that. Looking at the operations, Tritton at 4,100 tonnes of copper, an improvement on the last quarter. Although it was still below internal plans, they had an unfortunate situation where in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of December, they could get no cement, and that meant we couldn't do any stoping at the Tritton mine itself, where we use space fill as a support. That has now been resolved, and the whole issue around delivery has been resolved, and we are now back on track, and we'll catch up on that base fill. On the Budgie deposit, as we said before, development has hit the ore body quite a few months ago. We're getting small volumes of tons out of it. One of the key capital projects was to get a new ventilation, or is to get a new ventilation shaft in. Unfortunately, the raise bore got stuck 30 meters from the bottom, right on surface. We had to drill that out. We managed to get the raise bore out, but what we found is the condition of the first 30 meters or so on top of that raise bore is very bad in geotechnical, and we're now putting piling in place. We basically drill holes, put concrete piles in place, and then do the raise bore in the middle. That should be finished by the end of the quarter, and we will see much higher production levels coming out of Budgie at around 1.8% copper, which is a significant improvement in grade as we go forward. We said previously we're investing in some technology. The Jameson cell, which we're busy installing at the Tritton mine, that's underway, and that will improve the concentrate grades, and that payback is less than 12 months. So that is underway. And then on the capital side, we keep on putting money in. The main development was in Avoca Tank, and we've hit the ore body in December. That was slightly ahead of plan. The plan now is to move as fast as we can, getting the development in place and start to see we get some actual stoping ore out in the fourth quarter. We already had some development ore into the mine, and some of those grades has been really spectacular. As I said earlier, we've drilled the Kurrajong deposit. We'll put a mineral resource out on that in quarter 3. Some very interesting results. I'll show you a slide coming up. And then we discussed this before in the first and second quarter. We did an airborne EM over the northern part of the tenement package. Those results has returned. We've got 14 new priority targets. And just to take a step back, that's exactly the way how we discovered Constellation. So we did the same. We found the targets. In fact, the first one we really got stuck into and drilled was Constellation, and Constellation is now a 7 million ton ore body. We've also focused a lot on technology in the business, and we have been awarded funds from the New South Wales Government Minerals and High-Tech Minerals Activation Fund for ore sorting. A lot of opportunity for us is as we move into these smaller deposits like Constellation, not a small deposit, but trucking that 47 Ks. If you can ore sort and upgrade it, that will be a significant saving going forward. So we got funds to do that, but we also got significant funds to work with the group looking at coarse particle flotation processing. And if that comes and that works, that can be a game changer for the industry, in fact. So just touching on Tritton exploration, there you can see the EM results. There you can see where the targets are. Some really high priority targets, but a few others. Those will now be proof tested, so make sure that there normally is not a infrastructure on ground, and then we'll do some ground-based EMs and start to do some drilling on once we've identified the highest priority targets. At Murrawombie, it's just a mine keep on giving. Now, 2 years ago, we thought there's only 12 months left. But every time the geologists just do that next level or a bit of deeper drilling, this time around they did a 250-meter hole down plunge, intersected the ore body, and put some EM results down, and it lit up, showing significant potential for further exploration and further extension of the Murrawombie mine. So Murrawombie mine, if that is 250-meter down plunge, there's a significant potential for that to increase production by another 2 or 3 years. At Kurrajong, you can see some of those good results, 2.7, 3.4, 3%, still some good results. And some of those is now outside the original boundaries of what we thought to be a resource. So that keeps on extending the size of the Kurrajong deposit as well. Quite a significant result for us is we always knew that Avoca Tank, all our deposit extends to depth. That's just been the history of this business for the last 10 years. We went into Avoca Tank with 800,000 tons sitting in that top end of what you can see there. We drilled a hole about 180 meters below the current EM plate, as you can see there, intersected massive sulfides, waiting for the results. But you can easily correlate that EM plate to further extents down below, and that will be a significant extension of the life of Avoca Tank. And if it continues at the grades, Avoca Tank current resource grade is 2.5% copper. So significant potential for Avoca Tank as we get into it. And you can see where the declines sit at this stage with the drilling we're doing. We're getting very good results, and some of the stopes we're seeing or the decline development we're seeing looks quite spectacular. Going on to the Jaguar mine. Jaguar was a little disappointing, but not unexpected. It was 7,300 tons at all-in sustaining cost of $1.65. The reason for not achieving the mining, the ore mine side, was an underbreak one of the stopes, which impacting on production sequencing. So we had to resequence, and we had to resequence some lower grade stopes for the quarter. Although we didn't mine it, there's about a 40,000 ton stockpile at the mine, because we need to blend the ore as we put it through the mill. So we still achieved the mill throughput in the mine, although at a slightly lower grade. As we said, their costs is well within plan, as we said, for all the mines. We also had, what we found with this business is quite a big working capital movement going through the business, so you don't get monthly concentrate sales, but we had 2 zinc concentrate shipments for the quarter and 2 copper shipments for the quarter, which sort of impacts the next quarter. You might not get as many, and you see these high working capital movements. That's just part of the business going forward. We did spend 1.2 million on growth. We quite excited about the Bentley resource itself. We're currently mining. Looks like, you know, when you drill, we keep on seeing potential for that to extend. But really, the Turbo deposit, it does keep on growing. You can see the resource we put out. Most of that is indicated now. A significant increase, 23 and 37% between tons and metal. What we are seeing, though, some of the latest drilling, as you can see on that image, is outside the current resource and has significant intersections, which we're waiting for results. So the geologists and the mining team out at Jaguar is quite excited about the opportunity for this to become bigger and bigger. And as it becomes bigger, it will get closer to the current working areas, which will help with the access to get into Turbo. One of the things, you know, on that slide, but one of the things we're really working on is the old Jaguar mine, which was mined before they discovered Bentley. And when they discovered Bentley, they basically pulled out of Jaguar mine and went straight into the Bentley mine. Looking at the historical stuff, information, there's stopes there ready to be mined. There's broken stocks. We need to pump it out, and we are planning to start that process. It's got good copper grade, lower zinc grades, and in this market, focusing on getting more copper, and we think that there's a lot more to get out of that Jaguar mine. So that's part of the things we're looking at. So when we bought this asset, we were only focused on the Bentley mine and the Turbo deposit, and said, well, we think there's 4 years life. But as we get into it, there's a lot more opportunities, like the Jaguar mine and a few other deposits which we can bring into the plan as we go forward, and we see quite a potential to extend this mine life significantly from where it is today. In northwest Queensland, the Mount Colin mine produced 1,500 tons of copper. The mine tons was impacted basically by a breach which formed between 2 stopes and low loader availability. So they are behind plan at this point in time. We have set it up for Q3 and Q4 production to increase significantly. We got more mining areas available, but we also got another loader into the fleet, and that has been the bottleneck, was the loader to get to clean up the stopes and go again. So that has been brought in, and we're confident that they will catch up in the next 6 months going forward. We've also changed to put tons through. It's usually the tons went through the Ernest Henry plant. We've changed it to go through the Mount Isa copper concentrator. The recoveries wasn't as good as we were hoping, so we have moved back, trying to put some tons back to Ernest Henry. So we treated 82,000 tons, but there's already another 80,000 tons sitting on deck at the Mount Isa mine, and some tons sitting at the Ernest Henry process facility going forward. The Barbara drill program, which we've been working on, we talked about, that drilling has now been done, finished in December. We're waiting for some of the results. We'll then put a resource around it, and then start to do the study to see if that is going to become the next operating mine once we finish Mount Colin. At the same time, we've put a team together to look at the regional opportunities within the Mount Isa region. We know that there's a lot of opportunities to do the similar model like we're doing at Mount Colin. We've got a small mining team at camp set up and a treatment facility to take the tons to treat at a very decent rate for the amount of tons we're putting through the plant. And that is the model we want to apply going forward, because we think there's a lot of explorers out there who would like to take the opportunity to extract value from their assets. At Krakow, the team at Krakow is actually doing spectacularly well. The grade of the Krakow mine has dropped over the last 12 months, and they've done a lot of work to understand the grade, and we've got the grade now under control. We know what we're mining, and the grade reconciliations are basically on plan. But they've done record tons mined, record tons milled, so they know we need to push the volume through the plant to keep doing what we're doing. And I must say they're doing exceptionally well on all fronts, on both the tons milled, mined, and costs are very well controlled within that business. We also keep spending growth capital. Golden Plateau is one of the future operations, but we're also doing some work on the southern side of the tenement package for Krakow as we move forward. So you would have seen we put our announcement in January, the Golden Plateau resource sitting at 620,000 tons or 62,000 ounces, and that's only the red blocks on that image on the right-hand side. All those yellow structures which we're showing there still need to be tested where it intersected. So we also added an exploration target of 60 to 130,000 ounces as still to be drilled and defined in this project. So this can become 150 plus thousand ounce sort of copper deposit, which will then be fast-tracked to get into production at Krakow to add to the current mine, but also looking at opportunities going forward. The exploration, the Greenfields exploration on the southern side is continuing. We're doing some surveys, the guys are doing some work, and we're planning to put some targets in place to start to drill within that southern region. That southern region is probably still one of our best prospective areas within the Krakow, or you can either say in the business, to find another big ore body. Going just on corporates on the project, so Stockman, as I said earlier, we now got Charles in place, and he's going to take his stake in this on. We're still planning to finish off the definitive study by the end of FY2023, so by June. We are busy with looking at different logistical options to get the concentrate to port. Early works is being defined or refined, and we now got a much better understanding of the vegetation clearance offsets which need to be in place, and there is a plan to move that forward. So quite a few approvals has been received in the quarter. The team is well advanced, and the project, once the study is done, we'll move it forward. At a corporate level, as I said earlier, the cash and receivables has gone up, and then we've seen the increase. And although sometimes hedges are good or bad, but there's still a little bit of hedge left for the next 2 quarters for gold and zinc. But at this stage, there's no other hedging in place for the business going forward beyond June. Thank you, everyone. That's the presentation.